because something big just happened with EduCanNation at a conference that we were at a couple of weeks ago, right, ladies? You won Cannabis Educator of the Year. So congratulations, first of all.
Especially right now with the science, we see the science of cannabis exploding around us. Now we see that there's massive amounts of research everywhere. So how do we navigate that? How do we discern the good from the bad? Most of us come to the space for personal reasons. We've had medical issues, or we're caregivers for someone with medical issues, and we found cannabis and it helped us. And so we became passionate about it and passionate about sharing that with others.
It's unfortunate, really, that Canada made a few mistakes when they federally legalized cannabis. And the biggest mistake we feel was that education wasn't made a top priority. It was hard to get the truth about the therapeutic effects about the cannabis plant out to the general public.
Often there's all this sense of competition that goes on. Who can get the most patients, who can sell the most products, this kind of thing. And here we were, we didn't care about that. We just wanted to educate. It was really scary to go to that cannabis clinic and stand in a line with a gang who all had the same tattoos and all had the same broken arm, who all walked out with the same 30 gram a day script to start their illegal business with. And to still walk out of there with a prescription, not knowing what to do with it. I couldn't find information about what cultivars to use, methods of ingesting it. Is my kid going to be smoking? And how am I supposed to dose him? Where do I start? Felt like I was taking my son's life in my hands. I thought no one should have to do this. This is not right. There has to be something better.
I'm Andrea Maharg, Cannabis Coach and Educator. This interview is brought to you by the Cannabis Coaching Institute, where we give people the tools, knowledge, training, confidence, and support to go out and start businesses by helping other people understand the beautiful cannabis plant. If that idea really excites you, head to cannabiscoachinginstitute.com. I'm so excited about this video because you get to meet some Canadian cannabis education rock stars who I've had the pleasure of knowing and meeting over the past few years. So today we're going to talk to Stacy Bobak and Shawna Dunbar, who are the executive directors of EduCanNation. EduCanNation is a Canadian nonprofit organization devoted to improving the quality of cannabis education and care across our nation and beyond. And their mission is to provide the highest standard of responsible cannabis education. So of course, that lights up my heart so much because I love teaching about cannabis as well. And I'm so excited to have you here, especially today, because something big just happened with EduCanNation at a conference that we were at a couple of weeks ago, right, ladies? You won Cannabis Educator of the Year. So congratulations, first of all, and tell us about that.
Yeah, we are super excited. It was more than an honor enough just to be nominated as potential Cannabis Educator of the Year. And that nomination really set us in motion to let people know that we've been nominated. We've been building this nonprofit for the past 3 years, really setting the foundation for what it means to be a cannabis educator, and learned that there are a lot of us out there looking for that support. So we are very grateful to have a lot of supporters in our community, in our family, that have seen us growing over those past 3 years and really wanted to vote for us. They voted for us every day, and it meant a lot to have EduCanNation's name announced, to have people that knew our name recognize that we had won, that we were educators, that we were there at this CannExpo that really focused on cannabis education. And that was kind of the cherry on top of that experience. But we also share this award with all of the cannabis educators doing the good work out there to share the facts about cannabis, including our fellow nominees. We are the Association for Cannabis Educators. So this award isn't just for EduCanNation, it's for all of the cannabis educators out there.
So true. As a group of cannabis educators, we got to hang out and be together at this conference. We rented an Airbnb and got to hang out at night and get to know each other. And it was so wonderful to be in the presence of a whole bunch of different people. We're all doing our own thing in the cannabis education space. And yet there's no competition. There's none of that BS. We're just all really excited about helping other people understand this plant. We know it and we're like, you guys all need to know it too. So it's such a beautiful community to be a part of, and maybe very Canadian as well, that we're all like, oh, let's just kumbaya and hug each other. Can you tell us, why did you start EduCanNation 3 years ago?
First of all, it was just that sense of being alone as a cannabis educator and not realizing that there's other people out there that are just as passionate as we are about cannabis education and are doing the same thing. It seems we're a lot of entrepreneurs that come to the space, and most of us come to the space for personal reasons. We've had medical issues, or we're caregivers for someone with medical issues, and we found cannabis and it helped us. And so we became passionate about it and passionate about sharing that with others and helping guide others. And so as cannabis educators, that sense of feeling alone, well, are there other people out there that are doing the same thing? And can we connect? Can we support one another? Stacy, why don't you jump in with how you and Steph came together, and then I can share my part of the story.
Stephanie Massey is the third co-founder of EduCanNation, and her and I are breast cancer survivors. So we had this idea of a community group where we already have something in common. So we don't have to talk about what it is that we all have in common, whether it was breast cancer or this love of cannabis science. But again, that feeling of aloneness, and working with patients that had breast cancer who were unfortunately passing away, that was really hard on an individual cannabis educator. So when we found out that we were both doing similar things, educating in the community and offering patient care, we decided to start coming together, and we created this little community group that met once a week every Friday. Started out as just a space to come and share those difficult cases, the proverbial water cooler, because you aren't alone, that educators are just spread out all over the country. So at that first meeting, Shawna came and she met Steph and I. And again, we spent time figuring out what this community would be, and then found that she kind of already had the business plan in place for how to support people like us who were looking for support from other people doing the same work.
I think I remember the first few meetings, I kind of stayed a little bit quiet because I was like, who are these people? Are they good enough? Are they smart enough? Do they know what I know? Are they passing on the same message that I'm passing on? And I was hearing my messages and my passions echoed back to me from all these women that came around the table. And you were one of those people, Andrea. You were there from the beginning. And that's when I realized, like, oh, wait a second, this might just be my tribe. This might be the people that I've been looking for. And so I shared that business plan that I had put together a couple of years beforehand, that I had started the idea of EduCanNation. Thinking if I could train other people to do what I'm doing, working with patients and giving talks and just, sort of spreading the cannabis gospel and spreading good education, then people would see what a great plant it is. And maybe we could reduce that stigma. I guess I shared my idea for EduCanNation and the idea of creating the standard of practice and standard of education to bring out there. And we all seem to be on the same page. And so we came together and we finally registered as an official nonprofit, which was kind of neat to do in the cannabis space as well, because that's not something that we see. Often there's all this sense of competition that goes on. Who can get the most patients, who can sell the most products, this kind of thing. And here we were, this group of people that we didn't care about that. We just wanted to educate. It was really meaningful to be able to register as a nonprofit as well.
One of the things that's always struck me about EduCanNation in particular, it was a group of cannabis educators, and I was like, oh my God, that's so fun. So we get to be in community. Yes, there's a business plan moving forward, but Shawna, you in particular have always struck me as somebody who's like a real stickler about like, what are we actually teaching? Like when you said earlier, like, are they good enough? Are they smart enough? That's like a little bit flippant, but you're not kidding. It's very important for you as an organization to make sure that educators who are kind of like under the EduCanNation wing are presenting information that's factual, based on science, is going to help move the conversation forward. Why is that in particular so important to you?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we face right now in society is just having access to information at our fingertips, right? And access to misinformation. So, how do we manage that? How do we navigate finding the good information? And to me, the way to do that is to standardize how we educate and how we learn as well. If we can standardize the practice of education, then we're also standardizing how we learn at EduCanNation. We talk about things like, how do you read a study? Just because there's research out there doesn't mean that it's good research. So how do we navigate that? So these are all little parts of the whole picture. And if we put them together, we're creating a space where everybody can understand how to come at education in a good way. We're always playing catch up, especially right now with the science. We see the science of cannabis just kind of exploding around us. Whereas before we were dealing with, there's not enough research, right? Yeah, come back to me in 10 years when there's enough research, but now we see that there's massive amounts of research everywhere. So how do we navigate that? How do we discern the good from the bad? We do that by coming together and creating standards of practice to be able to move forward. I like that you see me as being a stickler. I sometimes think of myself as a rebel, but when it comes to defining our purposes, I think it's really important to create those standards so that we can move forward in a positive way and in a way that everybody agrees and everybody benefits from.
Stacy, you shared with us about your personal story with cancer and how cannabis has been part of that journey. But you as well, Shawna, like this is really personal for you. Having correct information about cannabis has made the difference in your family. Can you talk a little bit about why this is so important?
I came to cannabis education searching for answers for my son's epilepsy, searching for an alternative for his pharmaceutical medication that wasn't actually really working 100%. He was still having seizures. And then there was this shortage of his pharmaceutical medication that lasted 1.5 years. And I was so grateful that I had dived into learning about cannabis for 2 years prior to that. But I couldn't find what I needed. I couldn't find information about what cultivars to use, methods of ingesting it. Is my kid going to be smoking or is he going to be consuming oils? And how am I supposed to dose him? Where do I start? I felt so alone without having any kind of guidance from the medical community or anywhere else. Where were the cannabis educators then? And so living that experience of having to do everything on my own and trust in my own abilities to do good research felt like I was taking my son's life in my hands. You know, his type of epilepsy, the types of seizures that he could have could be deadly. And then the withdrawal from the benzos that he was on, that could be deadly. There were all of these hurdles that we had to overcome. And it was really scary to do it by ourselves, to go to that cannabis clinic and stand in a line with a gang who all had the same tattoos and all had the same broken arm, who all walked out with the same 30 gram a day script to start their illegal business with, you know. And to still walk out of there with a prescription, not knowing what to do with it. I thought no one should have to do this. This is not right. There has to be something better. And that's when I made the decision to dive into cannabis education and to learn more. People heard my story. My son has been seizure-free ever since we started cannabis. It's been our miracle. And that is a story that you share when that happens in your family. And so word got out and people started asking me for help. You know, people with epilepsy, people with other conditions started to come to me. And I thought, who the hell am I? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I have no medical background. How can I be guiding these people? I didn't want to turn them away in the way that I felt I'd been turned away. I was very blessed to have met a few people that really helped guide me through, those people that were passionate about cannabis and passionate about helping others. And I thought, I got to get on to that. And so I took a few courses, and then eventually the idea of EduCanNation came really not too long after all of that happened. I thought, we have to do something better. We have to come together and start educating so that other mamas aren't standing in lines at sketchy clinics paying thousands of dollars for prescriptions and, not getting any guidance.
And now EduCanNation is filled with mostly women who are all doing exactly what you did. You saw a problem and you created a solution for it. And that is what continues to happen at EduCanNation. Can you tell us what's next for EduCanNation, and how can people who are listening, who are also cannabis educators, get involved?
We are the Association of Canadian Cannabis Educators. We understand that cannabis is really global, right? It's not just here in Canada, it's everywhere, and education is happening everywhere. So we know what we're doing is relevant to other people, other educators, other Canna curious around the world. So we're not just Canadian, though our focus really is on the Canadian market. We know we have 3 tiers of membership. So we have our basic membership, which is designed for the Canna curious, cannabis patients, recreational utilizers, anyone who just wants to learn more about cannabis and feel supported in a safe space. And then we have our leadership membership, which was designed for cannabis educators to continue our education. We know that, like I just said earlier, the research is moving quickly. We have to keep on top of that. We have to know what's going on in the industry and around us as educators to be able to maintain that standard of practice and keep up with things. So we created the leadership membership to support cannabis educators to continue learning, to find business support as well, because most of us are entrepreneurs, right? We're off by ourselves doing our own thing. And so having that business support is really important as well. And then from there, we created our professional membership, which is really just sort of a step further from the leadership membership. The idea is to allow our educators to come together under the same association and create employment opportunities. So we have a holistic clinic model that we're working with other healthcare providers, and that means that we can match patients with the right person that has the set of skills that they need to be able to help guide that person on their journey. Those are the 3 levels of membership. We're going to be launching our basic membership this month, which will be $99 for the year. If it's your first time consuming cannabis and you don't have a support system in place around you, you can come to one of these monthly meetings and find supportive people that will help guide you through.
EduCanNation has created a lot of free modules that anyone in the world can access. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, this is my passion. Besides the cannabis coaching aspect, we want to get people to have access to the information. We want the public to have information about 101 cannabis to start those conversations. So we created a partnership with IMD Health, or CloudMD in the States. And they started out educating within doctors' offices, giving information to patients or to doctors so that they could give the information to their patients about general health education on all topics. So we're very grateful for that partnership, and we provide education about cannabis. So the modules we have out now created by our members to help support their business and their ability to create educational content that meets this ideal standard that we've created. We've had a lot of great positive feedback about those educational modules that are out there now.
That's fantastic. I'll put the link down below so everyone can go check it out. I like to end these interviews like wondering what you're excited about. What's something that you can't stop talking about that you wish everyone in Canada, or maybe like even worldwide, knew about cannabis?
We kind of spun it the other way. We're excited about a lot in cannabis. We're excited about the job that we do as educators, and we're excited to see over these past 5 years, 7 years for some of us in this cannabis education space, how much education is getting to the public. It's unfortunate, really, that Canada made a few mistakes when they federally legalized cannabis. And the biggest mistake we feel was that education wasn't made a top priority. It was hard to get the truth about the therapeutic effects about the cannabis plant out to the general public. So we hope that other countries around the world will learn from that mistake. We've had the opportunity to speak in a few other countries and say, we're coming from the future. We have this legalization in place, this model that is doing some things right and that we can follow. However, something you could do differently is to start with education with the children to help destigmatize this 100-year-long blip in the radar, as you like to say, Andrea, of prohibition. Let's start with educating them about the facts of cannabis so that this idea of cannabis being a bad thing is not even on their radar at all. Let's get that truth about cannabis out. And we feel that the more people that hear that message, whether we're helping patients and their caregivers, or we're out in our own community, or we're teaching our niche audience within our business as a cannabis educator, that standard language, that harm reduction lens, that evidence-based information and anecdotal experience can be taught around the world so that no matter how or where you access cannabis, you know about the plant, you know about its effects, and you can make safe, informed choices that really will help this industry succeed because educated consumers know what they're looking for. They know how to ask the questions and they feel comfortable taking on their health or taking on their intention for cannabis use and discussing that with others. So we're really excited to spread this message wide beyond Canada, and I look forward to when everyone has that same language and understanding of cannabis. There's still a lot of work to do.
I think about for Shawna's son, Shaden, what a different world it would look like for him in the future, where cannabis comes up as a possible medicine for his seizure disorder. And he's like, okay, let's try that with none of the stigma. And his mom knows what she's doing and the doctors know what they're doing because we live in the future and people are educated about cannabis. So yeah, I'm excited about that time too. All right. If you want to be certified as a cannabis educator, that's one of the things that we do over at the Cannabis Coaching Institute. So check us out down below. And also, if you're already an educator or you want to be part of this beautiful cannabis education community, make sure that you check out Shawna and Stacy and all the other beautiful people who are over at EduCanNation. They have lots of amazing things going on. Hit subscribe, do all the things, make the algorithms love us. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.